Welcome to the App in Top Mobile App Marketing Podcast.
For so many mobile app developers, it's an all-or-nothing battle out there in the App Store.
This App in Top podcast is your mobile app marketing advantage.
Let's get that new app of yours moving to the top.
This is the App in Top Mobile App Marketing Podcast.
And now your host, Michael Bauer.
Welcome, everybody. This is episode number 3 of the App in Top Mobile App Marketing Podcast. This podcast is produced by appintop.com. You can find the daily blog at blog.appintop.com and also track us down on facebook.com/appintop. And of course, we tweet on Twitter at appintop_com. Appintop_com. Today, we're going to be discussing and discovering the marketing tactics that work best for a sports game. And unless you've been living under a rock, hopefully you've got one pint in one hand and a vuvuzela in the other, because the World Cup's in full swing and soccer fever has a very firm hold on the globe. Today, my guest is the marketing manager for Nordeus, the developer of Top 11, a very popular free-to-play soccer game, which honestly, it's football to everybody else outside of the United States. 12 million active users, 5 million daily active users on web, Android, and iOS devices. It's the most played online sports game in the world. Please welcome, as our guest today, Nebojša Radović. Nebojša, when, just out of curiosity, last time you played intently Top 11?
Oh, it's probably this morning. I had to wake up at 6:30 to play a game because it was a very important game. So, when you're addicted, I guess there's no way out.
That was going to be my question. Can you get addicted to your own game that you're marketing for? A lot of people, you get somebody who works at a restaurant, they can't eat the food there because they see everything that goes into it. Do you find yourself addicted to Top 11?
This is a competitive game, so you cannot really, when someone else wants to be better than you are and you made the game, it's not really good to see that. So that's why I have to play the game. I have to be really good. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, people will tease me, oh, you made the game and we're better than you. So I won't allow that.
I like it. Now, you quote the total audience at about 11 to 12 million players. Now, we've done some research. We checked the website statistics, and according to SimilarWeb and Alexa, 12 million seems about right. What are the numbers for monthly active users and daily active users in the iOS and Android apps?
So we usually don't disclose that, but what we can say is that both iOS and Android are growing. So web in general is in decline. So and on the other hand, mobile is growing. So Android is becoming really, really big for us, especially because outside of the US and in Asia, Android is really big. I know some countries like Korea, they have like 80 or 90% penetration of Android devices. So the platform has been really, really important for us, and we're investing a lot of effort to improve our game and to, deliver a better product on both.
So you've seen a lot of growth then from the Android aspect of things. Do you when you see that happening, do you think that it's kind of amongst soccer fans, amongst football fans now? Do you find that they're at an even growth rate, or do you feel that because of the marketing wise and because of what's available outside of the U.S. and other countries, that Android's sort of surpassing iOS?
Yeah, so it's also like the way Android as a platform is made. It's so there is a big difference between web and mobile. So web is like more viral, as a platform than mobile. So it's easier on Android to like reach more users, to get better rankings, and it's easier. The App Store is available in more languages. So there's a lot of things that you can do to bring more users, while iOS, on the other hand, is not, if you want to like acquire users, it's a little bit more expensive.
Sure.
And, so it's a little bit harder to grow, but, definitely you can do it, and we do that. But maybe Android is growing faster simply because there are more devices. There is a bigger range of people who use Android. You can buy an Android phone for $100. You can buy it for $600-700. So, that definitely why Android is growing quicker than iOS.
Hey, Nebo, you guys are purchasing a lot of advertising. Could you rank your paid channels in terms of their importance, volume, and profitability?
Yeah, of course. So I think it's really important to say here that we started as a Facebook game. So, Top 11 started on Facebook in 2010. And, after that, like mobile was, like a logical move. So, mobile was growing. We decided to go mobile. And that's why we still appreciate Facebook, because
Sure.
it brought us all the knowledge and all the know-how how to make a successful mobile game as well. So that's why we're also we rely a lot on Facebook even on mobile, and we use Facebook social graph to engage more people, to help them engage with their friends. And that's why we really like Facebook advertising, and we invest a lot in that type of advertising. Apart from that, we're always testing different ad networks, mobile ad networks. We're obviously working with Google as well. So there is no really a silver bullet. You have to try a lot of things to measure everything, and then to get the best possible outcome. And
Do you find that you're getting your money back on those kinds of investments?
So yeah, definitely. It also depends on the country. So some countries are obviously more expensive than others. Some countries are in some countries users are more viral, so they invite more people. They like to play with their friends. So when you put everything into on paper and try to calculate what is the real value, then yes, definitely advertising makes sense, and that's why we're doing it so much.
Tell me about your partnership program. How does that work?
So you mean partnership with football clubs, and or what kind of partnership exactly do you think? Because we work with Facebook, we work with Apple and other platforms. We work with football clubs and offer walls and.
Let's start with as far as the actual football clubs go. How does your partnership program with them work?
So that's not only a revenue thing. It's really important when you're a football game to have all these assets, because people are they love the clubs they're following, and it's really important if you're making a football game to somehow transfer that passion in your game as well.
Right.
So that's why, if you want to build a successful brand, successful sports brand, you have to be, you have to implement this, to work with these guys in some way. So people are actually able to buy, to purchase all the, official merchandise of these popular clubs in our game. And that's for them, that's a statement. That's for them really important. They like to have Real Madrid jerseys in the game.
Sure.
So, that's also their way to show off and to show their passion. So revenue-wise, it depends from country to country, but it's super important when you want to make a successful brand to have that element as well. Even though it might not be as profitable as other features, it's really important because you want to build a brand. And that's why we really like and we enjoy working with these guys.
Is there? I know that in some cases, especially when I'm referring a lot to in America, the NFL, Major League Baseball. There's a lot of rights that get involved in that. Do you guys have to find yourselves paying rights to be able to do this, or is this something that you find that is it immeasurable, the amount of money that you're paying in rights? Is this something that the football clubs are willing to work with you on?
So. Usually when you want to have, we don't work with a whole league. We work with particular clubs.
Gotcha.
Which means that the deals are, are made directly with the club. And there are certain rules that you have to follow. You're not really allowed to work, for example, with more than 2 clubs.
Okay.
So in one country. So, we're working directly with clubs, and it's always club specific. So sometimes it's revenue share, sometimes it's you pay a fixed price for the rights, and in the end you just at the end of the year you just calculate how much money was made in the game from these official items, whether that makes sense or not. But again, this is also, like, as I said, really important for the brands.
Nebo, you said that, and I understand this part of it, that that as far as the football clubs go, there is obviously mutually beneficial relationship for both parties in there, how you help the clubs and the clubs will help you. We see that the clubs, by being involved with you and having the legitimacy for the fans who play your game, that's a huge benefit to you guys. How do you benefit them? Is it exclusively through merchandise sales, or like when Real Madrid gets a new jersey, are you guys going to have that in the game and then people can go and purchase that way?
Yeah, so we try to keep these relationships very close. And for example, when they release a new set of jerseys, they're promoted directly in the game. And the audience is quite big. It's more than 12 million people playing on a monthly basis. So, they also benefit from that because, they're something they sell is directly promoted in the game. Mm-hmm. On the other hand, they promote us because you can actually buy those items within the game, and then the more items are sold, the more money they're going to make. So
sure.
It's in their interest as well to promote us. So that's definitely a win-win combination, and that's why we enjoy working with clubs, and it brings a lot of value and a lot of benefits to both sides.
We're talking with Nebojša Radović. He's the marketing manager for Nordeus. We're talking about, in reference to only the biggest online sports game in the world. You know it better as Top 11. Let's talk a little bit about cross-marketing. How does it work for different platforms? How do you move audience from web, as you've talked about earlier, that kind of being the starting point, to mobile and back?
So that's a great question, and that's really important that's something that's really important for game developers, because usually people who play the game on more than one platform, they're more engaged, they spend more money, they like the game more.
Right.
So it's important, if you're a game developer, to understand that and to invest a lot of effort in this particular problem. So once again, when you work, because we're a Facebook game, it's in Facebook's interest as well to promote that platform on mobile as well. So you can actually, if you're using Facebook Social Graph, you can actually recognize whether these users are using Facebook on mobile as well, and they offer them to play the game on mobile, which is really, really great, because then you have you're able to transfer those players to mobile as well. And when is that important? For example, now it's vacation time, everybody's going on holidays, and you want people to play your game even on holidays. They're not spending as much time on web as they usually spend during the year.
Right.
So that's why it's important for you to be able to move those web users to mobile, so they can play the game every day, and they can do whatever they do to enjoy the game. So that's why it's really important to do this cross-platform thing. On the other hand, if you're on mobile and you want to transfer the user to web, you can do that by integrating their account with Facebook account. Then you're using Facebook's notifications, like app to user or user to user notifications, to inform them that they can also play on web while they're on web. So that's Facebook is really helpful in this regard. And once again, that's something that game developers should definitely invest more time in.
Now, did you guys do a lot of research prior to that to find out if your fans were interested in being something that could carry over between mobile as well as web? Or is that something that you found through the creation of the mobile development, that your players just continue to go between both?
So that was our initial idea. So we wanted, Top 11 was one of the first multi-platform games out there. So, maybe even the first one it was the first game who solved this problem in a very easy way, where you could switch between the platforms just by using your Facebook account. So this was our initial idea. We wanted to expand our user base by allowing other people to play Top 11 as well, who maybe don't use Facebook, but also we wanted our core players to play the game all the time, which meant at the that we need to go to mobile. So that's how the Android version came to life. That's how the iOS version came to life, and the tablet version as well. So that's definitely something we were planning in the very beginning, and that effort just continued over time, and it still exists. We're still trying to improve these numbers and to make more players who play on mobile to play on the web, and more players who play on the web to play on mobile.
Nima, I know that for me, when I think about how important Facebook is to you guys, there's an old saying from old movies: you dance with the one that brung you. That's the one that brought you to the party. Everybody recognizes that was a Facebook game to start things off. But now, at this point, what platforms are most important to Top 11? Where would you rank web, iOS, Android, and Facebook? Which is the most important to possibly least important at this point? Not that there are any that aren't important, but in an order, where would you say is the most important platform for you?
So this is also country specific. So you cannot really say that, for example, Facebook is not important, as you said, like in one country. But for example, like if you want to target the US, you probably need to to put more effort on iOS, because simply more, there's a huge penetration of iOS devices in the US. People who have iOS devices are highly engaged. They spend money. So for example, in the US, it's really important to be present on iOS, and to try to improve all your metrics on that particular platform. While on the other side, maybe in Europe, it's really important to be present on Android. I said Korea once again. Korea is a big Android country, so this is very country specific. So I cannot really give you like one question to rule them all.
Right.
But let's say that Android is really important for us in Europe and Asia. iOS is really important in developed countries, like first world countries like the US, Australia, Canada, also some countries in Europe like Germany, UK. So mobile is definitely showing the biggest growth right now, and that's why we're investing a lot of time to improve improve the game on these clients. But that doesn't mean that we do not care about Facebook. Facebook is still Facebook users are monetizing very well. They play the game. We have players who play the game for more than 4 years, and that's something that's not so easy to achieve on mobile.
Correct.
And so that's why you have to equally put effort in all three platforms and to get the most out of them.
Nebo, we're going to take a quick break here. When we come back, you guys may be shocked to find out which countries spend the most on sports games and which countries Nordeus sees as the biggest challenge. You're seconds away from that right here on the App in Top mobile app marketing podcast.
This podcast is produced with support from App in Top, an automated mobile app marketing platform in App Store and Google Play.
This is the App in Top mobile app marketing podcast. I'm Mike Bauer. He's responsible for you knowing about the most popular sports game in the world. He's the marketing manager for Nordeus, developer of Top 11. The very popular free-to-play soccer game. He is Nebojša Radović. Now, Nebo, let's talk about making money with your app. You mentioned the U.S., Australia, Canada as your key markets, but you don't usually equate those countries with big soccer fans. I mean, we still call it soccer in the U.S., even though everybody knows it's football every place else. Why are they your key markets?
So they're not really key markets, but they're really important markets for us. And I'm going back to the question where you asked me which platform is the most important for us. So iOS users usually monetize better, and these are big iOS countries. So that's why average revenue per user in these countries is really high. So back to the soccer and football question, it's people usually when you say the U.S. is not the big soccer country, that's probably true. But the problem is that the U.S. has 300 million people, more than 300 million people, and even though if you have 10% of people who love football, that's still bigger than most of the countries in Europe.
True.
So if you're able to for example, have 1 million players who like soccer, and you can probably find them. That's a lot of money. So that's something that people don't really think about when you say like, okay, we don't want to go to the US. There are not as many soccer fans as they, as in, I don't know, Germany. They forget that, there is still a huge amount of players who like soccer and who spend money on soccer games. That's why we need to focus on these countries as well, even though, they're probably not the first choice when you make a soccer game. But it's not just these countries. European countries are, big on football. They really love it. They love sports games, and they do, especially like the countries that are part of EU. They do, spend a decent amount of money on these games. And if you're making a game like this, you should definitely focus on them as well.
I can see from the App and Top statistics you make more revenue per day in Italy. Who else would you say rounds out, as far as money spending countries, rounds out the top three in regards to top 11?
So that's also not so like top 11 specific. Let's say that the countries from Scandinavia spend a decent amount of money, like Sweden, Norway, Finland. Then Germany is a big Germany, UK. What else? Switzerland. So these are the countries that they're not. This is not something that's very specific for top 11. These are the countries that usually spend a decent amount of money on games.
Gotcha.
Also Asia. Asia is a little bit different market, and you had an opportunity to talk in some of your older podcasts with people who are experts for Asia. So it's a little bit harder to get on that market. You need to change your game. You need to do a lot of stuff. But there is a reason why you should do that, because countries like Japan and Korea, people who play the games, they spend a lot of money. So you should think about them when making a game.
Now, Nebo, I'm curious as well. When you made the transition off of Facebook to the web, and then you went into the mobile market, do you find that phones, smaller phones aside, tablets, are they bringing in money for you guys in regards to this game? I mean, are they more suitable for games like Top 11? It would seem like it.
So it depends. Like this is my personal opinion. It's not something that that maybe everybody shares in the company. But I think that so Top 11 on Facebook is way more complex than Top 11 on mobile.
Okay.
And at the point when we moved to mobile, we became a little bit more casual. So people who love soccer, and who maybe don't understand the concept of Football Manager, were finally able to download the game and to get to know what the Football Manager game is like. So that's why the fact you're sort of limited when you make a game on mobile, because simply the screen is smaller and you cannot put everything there, was actually an opportunity for us to get more players, and to get some players that wouldn't play on the web because the game was maybe too complex. So sometimes limitations can be actually an opportunity, not just like a disadvantage. So I think that in our case, and this is again my personal opinion, that mobile actually helped us get more users, because we had to decide which features to put in the game, which features to get rid of. So that's why this transition was really important for us.
Now, I also imagine, because starting on Facebook, had been, at least here in America, a big teenage market there for a while. That seems to have kind of moved on to an older generation of Facebook users at this point. Yet you guys retain 30% of your audience as being teenagers. How does that work for you? Do they pay well? Is there a concern about they'll be burnt out quickly, move on to something else? Or do you see them with much more of a burning passion for the sport itself and thus the success of the game?
So that's a good question, because in that particular situation, you have the users who maybe don't spend as much money as some older users,
right? But
they're really important for the engagement, because you want people to play the game. You want people to you need competitive players who are gonna improve their teams. So if you're an older if you belong to an older demographics and you don't have as much time as teenagers do, you're obviously going to spend a little bit more money to make your team perform better.
Right.
So that's why it's really important. Even though they don't spend as much money, and that's quite obvious because they don't have their own credit cards. Sometimes they use their parents' phones, so they might not be as we say, they might not be whales, like big spenders. But on the other hand, they're really important for the engagement of the game, and that's why you have to invest a lot of effort in this segment as well. So definitely, older users spend more money, but on the other hand, younger users are more engaged. They like to share the game with other people. They like to compete with their friends, and that's why they are really important for us.
Now, you guys sell branding and product placement. Give me one successful example of branding for you guys.
So in-game advertising is a big thing, and we tried a lot of times to do something on a global scale, but we usually work on a country basis. So we work with, as far as I know, and I joined the company 10 months ago. We work with Gillette in Turkey, and right now we're working with Google. So there are some in-game items, like Google in-game items that you can, you're playing like a Google Play Champions League, or you can play a certain tournament that's Google Play. You can put the Google Play logo on jerseys. So that's something that we really like doing, because it's not just putting banners and advertising that is going to make people don't like the game.
Right.
It's actually makes people engage with the brand, and that's a win-win situation for both sides.
Yeah, and revenue share wise, do you feel like it's exceeded the level you were hoping to get to?
So the problem with that particular monetization channel is that it's a one-time thing. So if you work with a particular company, you probably work for a month or two, and then it is a significant part of our monthly income, or of the income in 2 months. But after that, you continue with your regular stuff. So I think that's important just to say. But it is definitely it brings more value to the users, which is important for us. And usually, you charge more than you would actually get by doing regular, in-game advertising, or putting offer walls in the game and stuff like that.
Right. Nebo, talk to me about the in-app purchases that users can make. Maybe even tell me what the top 3 in-app purchases that users make are. You were talking about, how the teen market may not necessarily have that free-flowing cash to be able to make those things. Maybe they're using their parents' phone, but they're still making in-app purchases, perhaps on a smaller level. What are the top 3, maybe 4 in-app purchases that are usually made in regards to the game?
So I might be wrong on this one, but usually the number one is actually you need tokens to buy new players. So at the beginning of every season, you actually want to improve your roster or squad, as we say, and to do that, you need to buy more players. So that's by far number one reason why people buy spend on in-app purchases. Number 2 would be improving the facilities. So if you want a bigger stadium, if you want any of these in-game facilities, the easiest way to build them is by buying these in-game purchases. And the third one, let's say that's the official merchandise. So people really like to show their show that they really they are part of a larger group, that they are very passionate about a certain subject, and soccer is no different. It's probably amplified as opposed to other fields.
Yeah.
So that's why people love to show that they support Arsenal or Real Madrid or some other club, and that is a huge source of income for us as well.
All right. When we come back, the top 3 mind frames, I want you to think about this, Nebo. The top 3 mind frames that a developer kind of just starting out right now might need to change, in particular, if they want to have the most popular sports game in the world. That's when we come back here on the App in Top Mobile App Marketing Podcast.
This podcast is produced with support from App in Top, an automated mobile app marketing platform in App Store and Google Play.
This indeed is the App and Top mobile app marketing podcast. I'm Michael Bauer, your host. We would like to hear from you, so please send us your comments via Facebook at facebook.com/appandtop or tweet us any questions, comments, and thoughts at appandtop_com. appandtop_com. He's the marketing manager for Nordeus, developer of Top 11, that amazing free-to-play soccer game you love. Nebojša Radović joins us here on the podcast. Nebo, before we have you reveal the 3 things every developer needs to know about making a marketing run at the world's most popular online sports game, your international reach is amazing. Top 11 has been translated into 38 languages. We've talked a little bit about it, but I want to get a more specific answer from you. Why localize the game to languages that aren't even available at the App Store?
So everybody has, I'm from Serbia, and like Serbia doesn't have an app store, and we don't even have it's impossible to buy an iPhone through carriers. So if you buy, the only way to buy an iPhone is to go to the US and buy yourself an iPhone. And
right.
Still there's 350,000 people in Serbia who have at least who have an iPhone. So,
right.
This is not specific for Serbia. That's why you need to take this into consideration when making a game. So maybe there is no Serbian app store, but on the other hand, there are people who want to play games, and they want to spend some money on them. So you really need to think about it when you're making a game. And if you want to be a globally successful game, you need to think of all these things. So maybe it looks like a lot of work to translate the game to so many languages, but on the other hand, when you have a translated game, then people actually engage more around it. They're really when you come from a country as I mentioned, Serbia, people really appreciate the fact that you invested some time to translate the game and to make the experience feel more native and closer to what they expect.
And I feel like a part of this too is what you're talking about, because of such a passionate fan base in the world of football, that you really are looking at localizing for the largest number of fan base that you can kind of reach out to, right? So when you're talking about whether or not an app store and languages therein, or if you're discussing localizing in countries that have no developed payment systems or where payment providers take high commission, again, you're kind of looking for the bigger number of reach on the fan base for the sport as a whole, correct?
Yeah, exactly. But also there are some countries that are not as big as I don't know, like the US, but we have a really passionate fan base, and they usually invest some time to translate the game and to make it available in their language. That's also why it's really important to have a community and to nurture it, to always communicate with them and to see what you can do to improve the game in that particular country.
Do you find that that's the case with places, again, we've talked about Canada, Australia, the U.S., where football's not that popular, but countries like Thailand, Indonesia, is that, again, reaching out to the diehard fans therein? Is that why there's a success level within those countries?
Yes. Football or soccer is really big in these countries. I know I heard a lot of stories of people in Thailand, watching the Champions League, in 2 a.m. when waiting for 2 a.m. to watch a game.
Yeah.
So they're really passionate about football, and this is the case with most of the football games. So yeah, definitely. And again, these countries are big population-wise. I think Indonesia has something like 200 million people. So that's a huge population. And if you want to have high big numbers, you shouldn't ignore this.
Now, you've got a very powerful analytics team. They analyze everything. Do you have, in regards to everything that they analyze, do you have them look for places, countries that have this big base? Is this just kind of you shoot for, obviously, the bigger ones that have football teams and are a part of the league, but with places like Thailand, with places like Indonesia, does that something your analytics team helps you figure out, or are they too busy analyzing other things to be able to get to that for you?
So that's a mutual effort of a couple of teams in the company. and the analytics team is being one of them. Marketing team, business development team. Sometimes you don't know. Like sometimes you suddenly you find that there is a country where you have like 10,000 players who are very passionate and who spend a lot of money, and you're like, okay, what's happening here? Then we like talk to the analytics team, we see what's their engagement. Then we at the marketing team figure out what is the cost of of acquisition in that particular country, whether it's too big or maybe it's cheap, so we can invest more money in that particular market. Then we talk to the business development team, and they're figuring out what's the best way to monetize the game in that country. So it's not just one team. It's probably it's a mutual effort of a couple of teams, including mobile teams as well. So we're working together to make this game available to everyone. And the more languages you have, the people will just appreciate that more, and they'll be your brand advocates, and that's really important if you want to be a big and a successful game.
You bring up something that's near and dear to my heart, which is the communication between different groups within the company, the communication between marketing and analytics, for instance. Is there something that analytics brought to you in marketing that you went, wow, holy crap, we had no idea that was coming?
Yeah, that happens all the time. That's we try to be as analytical as possible. They try to understand marketing as much as they can. And that's happening all the time. So, for example, when we analyze, what's happening if we invest like 10% more in a particular country, what happens to the organic traffic, whether it's going to be increased for 10% or for 50% or for 5%. So, and we always, try to find these correlations. And, our analytics guys are really amazing at this, and they always, come up with different conclusions that really help us, be good at what we do. We were talking about these like mind frames. I think that being very analytical and understanding the way your game works is really important if you want to be successful in this particular field.
All right, so that's going to lead us now to our final question here, then, Nebo, and it's a great introduction that you've given me there. In regards to marketing your sports game, if we're talking to individuals listening to this right now and their goal is to become as popular as Top 11 has become, in regards to marketing your sports game, what are the top 3 mind frames you think that a developer needs to change? Maybe something that you've seen become a realization that you were unsure about in order to have a shot at becoming the most popular sports game in the world?
Oh, that's a tough question, but I'll do my best to answer. So, as I said, the first one, and again, for me, that's maybe the most important one, but that's because I'm biased. I come from marketing, so it's definitely like being able to measure everything that's happening in your game. If you're not able to measure, the engagement, if you're not able to measure what's the percentage of organic and what's the percentage of paid traffic, then it's really hard to do anything else after that. So, once you're able to crack that, then you can move forward and invest more money. And if you don't have money, it's really important at least to understand like what are the channels where your organic traffic comes from, what are the channels that bring you the most, the best users. So, once you have all the analytics processes in place, you can move forward and build a really successful game. So that's the first thing. And it's a cliche. They always say, you have to measure everything. You have your KPIs in place and all that. But the fact is that not everybody does that. And I have to like repeat that and to say that that's probably the first and the best advice I can give you. The second one would be to if you're usually when you're like an indie game developer, you don't have a lot of money, so you want to build something and you want to reach a lot of people, and that's not really easy when you're like out of advertising budget.
Right.
So in that case, focus on virality. Try to implement different social networks. Try to improve your app store rankings by increasing the number of like reviews, trying to like work with as many like websites as you can to get featured, to get a review of your game. So try to get the word out of there and try to bring as many users as possible in the beginning, so you can see what's their behavior, and then once you have some budget, you can invest it much smarter and bring even more users to the game.
Right.
And the third one is I'm out of the third one, but I guess
So there you go. Maybe at this point, Nebo, we know there's really just two things that any developer really needs to focus on and kind of change their mind frame, get their mind around, if you will, in order to have that sort of successful mentality.
I think you need, in the end, the last one is, very generic, but you really need to be passionate about what you do. I mean, waking up at 6 a.m. and playing a game, sounds, baloney, as they say in the US. But, that's something, you need to love, the product you're building. So if you build something to make money, you'll probably make some money. But if you really like, making games or making apps, or, if you like changing people's habits and improving them, then you probably figure out a way how to, monetize that and how to, how to create a better product. And that's even more generic than measure, and cliche than measure everything. But, I have probably 5 to 10 years of experience. I don't even know. And, the best results were produced when I really loved what I do, like it is right now. So I think that's really important. Try to make a product that excites you. And then, once you have everything else in place, you're probably going to succeed and make maybe not a lot of money, but have a great experience that's going to, create more money in the future and more opportunities. Like
a wise person once said, love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. Maybe that translates into number 3 here for when you're thinking about marketing that game of yours.
Yeah, exactly. That's one of my favorite quotes. So, that's definitely what I wanted to say.
Nebo, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us today. I greatly appreciate it, and I know that everybody listening, especially for people that are thinking about getting that brand new app out there, they want to be able to be as successful as the guys that you work for. You've given us some great information. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me on the show, and having our company. Check out Nordeus.com. We're always hiring, so if you are looking to work in the gaming company, if you are excited about marketing and all these things we talked about, feel free to join us. So Nordeus.eu or Nordeus.com.
There you go. If I wasn't currently doing this for AppnTop, I'd be sending you a resume immediately. Nebo, thank you so much for your time. I greatly appreciate it. There you go. Finally, I want you to visit our daily blog, blog.appntop.com. That's blog.appntop.com. You can find all this great information, much, much more every single day. Until next time, I'm Mike Bauer. See ya.
The AppnTop Mobile App Marketing Podcast is produced by
AppnTop.com.